안녕하세요, 기어크루입니다. 아주 특별한 손님분을 모셨습니다. 저희 기어크루의 핵심 아이템이죠, 스트랜드버그 기타의 올라 스트랜드버그를 이 자리에 모셨습니다.
Hello, Gear Crew people and Korea. It's fantastic to be here and a pleasure to be talking to you a little bit.
올라 스트랜드버그를 모셔서요, 그동안 제가 저희 기어크루에서 궁금했던 거, 그리고 저희 기어크루 커뮤니티인 네이버 스트랜드버그 기타 카페에서 궁금하신 점들을 제가 좀 모아서 인터뷰 내용을 만들어 봤고요. 네, 그럼 첫 번째 질문 드리겠습니다. 엔지니어링을 공부한 입장에서 기능적인 부분이나 문제의 해결 방식이 굉장히 충격적인데요. 반면 추구하고 싶던 부분을 어떤 산업적인 한계로 포기하거나 미룬 것도 있을 것 같습니다. 차후 어떤 부분을 시도해보고 싶으신가요?
You know, when I started out, this was originally a project to build myself one guitar, but I came up with this concept that I call the ergonomic guitar system, which was several pieces to make, either to convert one guitar to make it become more ergonomic, but also complete ergonomic guitar. And I wanted to be able to adapt it to the player, so change the scale lengths and change the relationships between multi-scale, and make it really comfortable for a specific person, depending on how tall you are or your playing style. So, of course, when starting to produce mass production of guitars, some of those things we had to abandon, but I think those are some things that would be very interesting to explore in the future, to be able to offer those kinds of customizations or some more variants of the instrument. And I think I also went through a lot of experimentation with manufacturing techniques that I think would improve the instrument, but also they are easy to do when you're a one-person builder and you build one instrument at a time, but also again become very complicated in a mass production environment. I have to maintain a balance between something that's possible to build and then possible for someone to repair in the future. So we don't want to build too many, crazy things that you can't repair in the future. We want our instruments to last a lifetime. So we make them with fairly traditional methods still, because they are known and they're established. Some of the things that I do want to explore, and that's very realistic in the future, is around like the material choices and making it more environmentally friendly, and maybe reduce transportation of material and the environmental impact, but still give value to the player, not just make it easier to manufacture, but for the player to feel that, wow, this is actually a better guitar.
And the balance is, I think, catch the balance between player, dealer, factory.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not easy thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we have many things left to do.
Indeed. Yes. 예, 두 번째 질문입니다. 베이스를 연주하는 입장에서 스트랜드버그 기타는 기타가 아니라 베이스를 만들어야 할 회사인 것 같다고. 너무 베이스로서 편하고 사운드 좋은데 앞으로도 베이스 라인업을 늘릴 생각이 있는지 그걸 좀 알고 싶네요.
It's a little bit ironic because I think the ergonomic problems perhaps of a bass they're even bigger than the ergonomic problems of a guitar. And I think bass players are more used also to headless design.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, we started with guitars, and we have many people loving our guitars and asking for them. So I'm extremely proud of the Bowden bass, and I know the players who have one really love them, and we look forward to in the future just have more production resources and more brain power resources for me to do more development work on the basis because we just haven't had time to give them the love that they deserve.
What about 4 strings? There's only for now. I think there's only Pro 5.
We noticed that the majority of our customers were 5-string bass players. So to at least give the bass a little bit of love, we focus on the 5-string. But
Okay.
I'm sure we will have a more complete lineup in the future.
스트랜드버그 개발 블로그를 읽었습니다. 끊임없는 시도와 노력에 감동을 했는데 한 가지 궁금한 점은 초기에는 카본넥과 바디를 시도하다가 다시 목재로 전환하셨는데 카본 바디나 신소재를 다시 시도할 의향이 있으신지 지금의 리치라이트 집한 것 같거든요.
I'm very curious, in fact, to try more materials in the future, but it's again finding this balance between what is possible to manufacture in mass production as opposed to making one guitar at a time. That limits some choices and also for the future serviceability of the instruments. Historically, there are brands that have made fantastic guitars with alternative construction techniques. After a few years, it just becomes very hard to repair or service, and that's something we want to avoid. Again, driven by sustainability and environment, we are very curious to explore other alternative materials and construction techniques. So it is something that we're looking into.
Okay. Maybe in the future.
Yes.
상기 질문에 이어서 지금 기타시장에 목재가 많이 부족합니다. 근데 에코 프렌들리 차원에서 이제 리치라이트나 재생목이나 뭐 중합소재 같은 걸 사용할 계획이 있는지 그 결과가 얼마나 만족스러웠는지 그 부분이 또 궁금한데요.
Lichilaite is an interesting example. I've handled many different woods. The way a luthier or guitar builder determines if some piece of wood will work well is you hold it up and tap and hear the tone.
Right.
And you want a high tone for a fretboard, and then you can try, maple or ebony, rosewood, and they all have very distinct tap tones. And then you pick up Lichilaite, and it has almost no tone. So I thought this would never work, but then we tried it. And the results is actually amazing. It's just different. I can't really explain it, but the feel of the guitar is a little bit different, and the sound is a little bit different. And to me personally, I think in a positive way. So I was very, very surprised by Lichilaite, and now it's fairly established in the guitar world, so it's not considered a new material anymore.
Not anymore.
But we've also looked into and evaluated and tried some different materials for both necks and bodies, synthetic materials, and we found some that actually sound really good. They behave like a guitar should, but they are still they're too soft, not stable enough. So we keep experimenting, but at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, we want to give value to the player, not just make it easier to build. And I think many players, they want to be able to pick up a guitar, play it, and then pick up another guitar, the same model, and they will sound a little bit different. And you love one, and you love the other one even more. And I think that's something the guitarists want. They want X factor in the guitar that only an organic material can do. If we make a synthetic guitar, every guitar will sound exactly the same. It's good in many ways, but I think it loses the X factor.
You're right.
That's again what I want to find the balance for, is somehow maintain the X factor, but make just an amazing guitar that is predictable. You know it will be a good guitar.
By the way, how do you explain the sound character of the Lichilaite when it added to guitar? More like maple, more like ebony, or how do you describe it?
I think it is fairly bright, like maple or ebony, so it's a substitute for that, but it still has bottom. But to me, it's more about how the guitar feels when you play it. I think it makes the neck resonate a little bit different compared to wood. The neck gives an impression of being more solid, maybe. It's hard to put words on. You almost have to try it to experience it, but I think it's in a positive way and more even sounding in general.
In my case, I feel Lichilaite sounds like more like ebony. Ebony is cool, and there's maple vibes also there, something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and by the way, I really like the changes to Lichilaite. I love it. 개발일지 블로그에서 보니 클래식 하드웨어의 장력 문제를 해결하는 방식이 재밌었는데요. 차후에 어쿠스틱이 혹시 개발되는지 여부와 개발된다면 어쿠스틱에 엔지니어링을 적용하는지 그 여부를 좀 알고 싶네요.
In fact, it's interesting. We get, I think, more questions from people about a nylon string headless guitar than or a steel string acoustic. That has a lot of challenges because the nylon strings stretch so much that when you tension with the regular hardware, it's not enough range. So if you were to read my old blog articles, I had like a special tuner to pre-tension a nylon string and then only fine-tune with the tuner. That becomes very complicated. So who knows? But for a steel string acoustic, of course the technology is much more applicable, and I think we have the way that the Strandberg hardware is designed. It's easier to apply for an acoustic guitar and the principles of it. We'll see what the R&D department comes up with.
I think Strandberg style with not full acoustic, like semi-acoustic, like Fender Teleacoustic, something like that. That would be great, I think.
Yeah, I think we will dominate the world eventually.
이렇게 깁슨 레스폴 하면 마호가니, 팬더는 엘더라는 인식이 있는데 스트랜드버그는 제 개인적으로는 서브 애쉬 바디의 인식이었는데 NX로 바뀌면서 바디와 넥 소재가 변경되었습니다. 차후에도 아마 또 목재가 바뀔 일이 있을 것인지 이 부분에 대해서 좀 알고 싶네요.
We found over the years there is a Strandberg character or Strandberg sound of a guitar, and you're right that Swamp Ash was like the original Strandberg wood that is most well known for, and that I used a lot in the beginning simply because it's so lightweight and low weight was my
goal.
Perfect, my main goal in the beginning. And then in the early days when I built one guitar at a time to order from usually very experienced musicians, most of them they had bought custom guitars before and they played many guitars. So they would order a guitar from me and they would tell me, I want alder because I think of it this way, and someone else said, I want a mahogany guitar because this is how I think of mahogany. So for me that was a good school to hear what they said and then build it and experience it myself. What I noticed there was that I think the Strandberg design amplifies the characteristics of certain pieces of wood. The normal truths don't always apply. So sometimes someone says, oh, I associate a maple top on mahogany to sound like a Les Paul maybe. But a Strandberg guitar will never sound like a Les Paul. No. Even if it has the same materials. Now after many years we've built the standard line and the metal line, our basswood, the Fusion line is older body, they both have maple caps, etc. And they all contribute slightly different things. They all work really well for different scenarios. And with swamp ash in particular, this issue with sourcing the bodywood, what's characterized as swamp ash is just this really lightweight ash that predominantly grows in Louisiana in America.
Right.
They had flooding, they had insect infestations, etc. So the supply is very scarce. So I'm sure that we will have other body materials in the future, whether they're synthetic or organic. But we really also want to look into more closely, again, the sustainability and environmental friendliness, and not maybe, ship wood across the world to be processed and then ship it back across the world to be sold to the customer. So we want to look into all of these issues and just have the best materials for the musician at the end of the day, and just make the best sounding guitar. That will mean, I think people expect innovation from us, and they expect us to look beyond the traditional techniques and the traditional materials. So I hope this will be successful even if we break outside the normal choices.
자전거에 정말 조예가 깊은 애호가라고 알고 있습니다. 실제 스트랜드버그 기타의 특성이 이동성이나 모빌리티, 벤처 킥백의 특성을 보면 혹시 취미생활이 개발에 연관이 깊은 것 같은데요. 실제 기타를 개발하는데 자전거 타는 게 좀 도움이 되는지.
I love bicycles, and I love riding my bike. So
Your SNS is always full of bicycle riding. Yeah.
So I do my best thinking when I'm out on my bike. So that has an impact, I think, on guitars. But also many other parallels. Bikes can be made from different materials: steel, aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber. And when you sit on a bike, it vibrates. You feel the ground in different ways in your hands and in your seat. The same way as a guitar resonates, and you can feel the differences. And the way, as a casual cyclist commuting to work, you probably don't think of it, but when you ride many different race bikes, you feel differences in geometry, how the different the parts of the bike, how they're put together, the angles, and how they reflect the ride quality. So I think there are many parallels, and as a customer looking for a bike, it's many of the same things apply, that you might love something and that another person hates, and they will love something else that you don't enjoy. So the challenges and the processes are very similar. And a guitar, you may want to walk into a store and try it before you buy it. And I think the same thing with the bicycle. But as you learn enough, you can trust your head and your expectations, and maybe buy a bike online. And other bike brands that sell exclusively online. Strandberg has sold very well online, and even if you buy it through a dealer as yourself, you probably sell it online as well. I think from an industry perspective, it's also interesting for me to see parallels with the bicycle industry. But we also want to get away from a lot of things in the bike industry. Is you have a new model every year, and you need to update it every year. That's not necessarily something we want for our guitars. We want our guitars to be forever guitars.
Yeah.
They will always be great. So we also want to learn to avoid some things from the bike industry.
스트랜드버그 기타는 딱 처음 봤을 때 굉장히 신선하죠. 이 기타를 개발하게 대한 궁극적인 이유가 본인이 기타를 연주하면서 잘 치기 위해 인체학적인 거를 개발을 했는지 얘기를 좀 해주세요.
I'm not a great guitarist by any means. I enjoyed playing the guitar very much when I was younger, but I actually started out as a drummer.
Oh, really?
And I think my real skills are in keeping time, maybe. I mean, back in the day when I played guitar, I think I was more well known as a good rhythm guitarist. I mean, I certainly enjoyed it. I played in various bands when I was younger, but then I didn't play at all for over 15 years. I didn't even look at a guitar before I started what was to become Strandberg. And now I play just to hear the differences between the guitars, and I can hear when we're developing something, I notice immediately if it works, if it's better than something else or worse than something else. I just have to pick up a guitar and play 3 or 4 chords, and I know because I've played enough. But then when it gets to like really evaluating electronics or pickups or how the guitar works in a recording situation or a live playing situation, those are completely different things that I don't have a lot of experience in. So then I have to rely on other people. And luckily nowadays we have amazing artist ambassadors in Strandberg family, amazing people employed by Strandberg. So I can rely completely on them to be part of the development process to give this feedback. So what I will contribute is just the acoustics and the playability and the feeling of the instrument. But then I need this other network to contribute everything else. So it's a large group that's part of the development of a Strandberg guitar.
It's like model standard of R&D research and development.
Yes, yeah. Well, at least I can't do it myself. I really need to rely on these other people. And now we have just amazing experiences and skills in the Strandberg team.
Yeah. 많이들 궁금하신 부분인데요. 커스텀 샵을 다시 진행할 계획이 있는지.
It was a hard decision to close the custom shop. But at the same time, to really do custom shop well in the eyes of the customer and be able to give a customer the attention that they need for a custom shop, that's a very different skill set than you need to make production guitars like this. And for us in our growth phase, we haven't been able to do both. So we had to sacrifice something. Of course, we know the demand is there and it's strong, so I can't rule it out, but at the same time it's unlikely in the near future.
Okay.
But you never know. We want to really look at every angle of the music industry and what players expect, how you buy a musical instrument, etc. So we're willing to change things around anywhere in the industry. So we'll see if we come up with something that can meet both goals, being reasonable in terms of standardizing and meeting different player needs in a way that works for both. But it's probably some time before anything will happen.
Okay. What do you think about the future of the Strandberg guitar? What do you want to? This is like the wide range of questions. Yeah.
I think the Strandberg guitar meets a lot of the needs of the modern musician and the musician of the future, where you create most of your music in front of a computer, you have studio monitors or headphones, and you can really hear the difference between different instruments. And you can hear the string separation and the note separation of a Strandberg and the clarity much more than you could a few years ago when you were in a rehearsal room with a stack of amps behind you. So now you hear the difference. You're sometimes on your keyboard or your mouse, and then you have to put the guitar down, and you pick it up, put it down, pick it up. It's much easier with a compact instrument like this.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't hit the armrests of your chair. And when you do play it live, it's much easier to wear on your shoulder. It's less stress on your hand. So all of these ergonomic aspects, well, it's not necessarily better sound. Again, this is subjective. Some people, they want to fight with a Gibson ES335 because that's the fight becomes their musical expression. So it's hard to say that a Strandberg guitar sounds better, but I would like to say that, if you could ever measure anything, then the Strandberg would sound better. And I just think that the modern musicians don't necessarily have the same old references and guitar heroes that had specific iconic guitar models. So I think there's room for something new that has new functionality and really gives value to the player. And we want to be part of the whole process and be able to help the community, and dealers are part of our ecosystem and an important part of providing this customer experience, we have to really do our best in every scenario and every interaction. And all of the artists that we work with are just wonderful people that become personal friends.
Yeah.
It's never just a business relationship. We never talk to anyone to just give us exposure. It's truly something where we enjoy each other's company and we enjoy the music. We think they're a good ambassador for the brand, and we provide the best tool for them to create their music. So we want to approach every interaction to make everyone an ambassador for the brand. Have fun doing it. For me to sleep at night, I have to feel that we're doing this. If something's not right somewhere, it worries me personally. So we don't always come all the way, if you will, but at least we try to fix it when we don't.
다음으로는 저희 이제 스트랜드버그 기타 카페에서 가져온 질문들 몇 개를 지금 드리겠습니다. 스트랜드버그 기타의 정체성을 더 뚜렷하게 하기 위해서 개발한 MF 픽업으로 차후 라인업이 교체될 줄 알았는데요. 안 됐습니다. MF 픽업에 대해서 좀 얘기 좀 해주십시오.
A lot of thinking and a lot of work went into designing the Stramberg branded MF or Michael Frank pickups. We couldn't be more proud of the results, but when we came into designing the NX line and looking at again some of the aspects that we touched on before, with when you do really innovative things, you inevitably end up in a scale-up phase to make more of something. And when balancing out all the development work and with everything innovative, there's a lot of work that goes into industrializing things. And when considering where we were in that process and the cost levels and the price point we wanted to achieve, we did eventually end up with using it in some models and the signature models specifically, but then we still remain with the CERN Fishman pickups in a lot of the models. They work really well and they're highly regarded by players, so they ended up striking that balance that we always try to achieve in what players expect and what makes sense from production perspective.
다음 질문입니다. 왼손잡이용 기타 출시 계획이 있나요?
Left-hand guitars are in the same areas as the basses. We love lefties. We love bass players, and it just comes down to what we can accomplish as a company and what I can accomplish as being the person that writes specifications and talks to the factory. And we're still a small company, even if we make a lot of guitars, and we haven't had the time in the past few years. We have made several lines of lefty guitars earlier. I know it's not what you lefty players want to hear, and I can't give you a date when. I can't make any promises about anything, in fact, but we would love to also, of course, serve the lefty community.
더 보급형 모델을 출시할 계획이 있으신지 알고 싶습니다.
Lower price. Stramberg guitar is inevitable at some point. Way that we construct our guitars and the components that they're made up of are actually a lot more costly than making a conventional guitar. We are looking into various ways of providing the same performance, but at a lower price point. Again, I can't say anything about when this will happen, but I know that there's a demand for it, and we just want to make sure also that we can maintain our service levels. Even if it's a lower price, we want to, of course, offer the same service, the same experience, the same performance of what you expect from a Stramberg guitar. So that there's a limit to how low we can go and still feel proud, have this be the true Stramberg experience.
You can definitely make the guitar look same as Stramberg, but it's not easy to make guitar sound same as current Stramberg in low price.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I stick my head out and say, we make headless guitars, others make guitars without headstocks. So it's different.
Yeah, it's different.
But yeah, the Strandberg guitar is a concept from the ground up, where every part interacts and works together. So it's truly designed as a whole component.
Yeah.
It's not just a regular guitar that you bolted some headless hardware onto.
유캔 베이스 추진계획이네요.
I think six-string bass ends up in the same category as the lefty guitars and the basses as a whole, but yes, I mean, we discussed the 4-string and 5-string bass. We know there's a tendency for the Strandberg bass customers are more modern, progressive musicians,
like
and
8-string guitars, right?
yeah, so I think it's logical to have a 6-string Strandberg bass at some point. I really want to make one. One day there will be one.
멀티가 아닌 일반 스케일, 고정 스케일 기타를 만들 생각은 없는지.
Back in the early days when I built the guitars myself and one at a time, I built a few guitars with specs like these and conventional frets. As the brand developed and I built more and more guitars, people were starting to really just ask for the same things. And every person I talked to, they wanted almost the same thing, and very few wanted something different, and that's what became the current Strandberg lineup.
Right.
So the relationship between the fan fret layout, the scalings, this is really where we found the sweet spot among player requirements. So I can't rule out having different scalings in the future for specific needs. But I think where we are now, we really struck a balance that works from, it's a subtle ergonomic benefit of the multi-scale layout, and there's also a tonal benefit of the layout. There's a tonal character of a 24-75-inch scale length, but at the same time, if you expect a Les Paul type tone out of a guitar, a Strandberg guitar with a 24-75, it won't be there anyway. It's not going to sound and behave like what you associate with that scale length. So I think one should expect, or one should think of a Strandberg guitar as a holistic experience, as the whole deal. Endurance shape, fan fret layout, very low weight, so on. Not just assume that the scale length will give benefit that you expected from that scale. So it might still happen in the future. We want to address some specific tonal characteristic, but there are no plans for it.
Okay.
Let me put it that way.
제로 프렛이 없는 모델 만들 생각이 있는지 궁금하네요.
We love 0 frets because then it's all just frets. So you're guaranteed that the tone of an open string will be the same as a fretted note. So it has a lot of benefits. It has some drawbacks as well, because the string is always resting on the 0 fret. So it wears out and you have to maintain it. So it's not perfect. Back when we built the so-called made-to-measure guitars, we had a modular nut with individually adjustable saddles on it. So that is something we're exploring, maybe industrializing that solution. Yeah, I could easily see us providing a new innovative nut. So not a plastic conventional nut, but maybe changing up the current combination of 0 fret and string spacing. So it won't be the obvious solution. If we do anything, it will be something that's really usable and valuable and plays well, sounds well, is easy to maintain. We're looking into some things.
이렇게 V 기타 같은 헤비 쉐입을 제조할 생각은 없는지 궁금합니다.
Well, I've dreamt about.
Got this similar question before from Korea too, right?
Well,
this is different guy.
I've dreamt about trying to do something like that, but I don't think we'll ever venture away from doing something that's practical and ergonomic and convenient and playable. So that probably rules out many. Who knows? Maybe we'll make something really over the top one day. if we do,
I don't think so.
Expect it to be practical and ergonomic and sound great and rest well in your lap and be balanced. Gear crew people, people of the world, this is the first time I've given an interview in a long time because of the pandemic. So I hope we will see an international audience here as well. It's been a pleasure, Ira. And keep rocking, I guess, sounds a little cliche coming from me, but keep playing everyone out there. And thank you for listening. I've talked a lot. I've had this inside me for several years now. So nice seeing you.
감사합니다.
Thank you.